This part of the exhibit is really what you enter into. And as you can see in front of me, there are the books that kind of incited a part of this exhibit. And then as you follow the red carpet back, you can kind of see the puppet theater that people who build puppets in this space get to go perform them. These are 4 of the books that we dug out from the archives. And most of these books are from the 1920s. And they're books on education that were actually produced, some of them here at Teachers College. There was an artist cooperative across the street that wanted to get marionettes in the hands of junior high school students. And so this book here that we found in the archives was talking about what it meant to have those puppets and basically using the words as far as embodied cognition, understanding that distance, that it's not just your brain, but your hand and everything about you is connected with your thinking. And so even when they create that puppet and they're moving that puppet, they're thinking through what it means to move. So we have books that focused on stick and rod puppets, books that focused on hand puppetry, shadow puppetry, string puppetry, and also even masks, and thinking through what each of those mediums do. And each of the books talked about it either as this is a folk art that's accessible to all and gives children a chance to express what they're thinking. This is high art that is meant for the opera that only some can get to see. And so we're trying to get it out there for others. And so these kind of thoughts of early puppetry that if you walk around the exhibit are actually wheat pasted all of these ideas from these books. We took the scanned archives and spread them as the backdrop of the space. And so when you move through it, we wanted people to have the opportunity to also see those kinds of seed ideas when we started thinking of puppets in education and puppets as something that you interact with. So talking about the digital realm on how to access the archives, I found a hard drive, and on that hard drive had a list of old resources that we had in our archives at Teachers College, and I found the word puppet, and I was curious, what did that mean? And so putting in a ticket through our library, who's been amazing supporting us in even accessing these and collecting them and scanning them for us to even be able to share with others. It was about sitting with that book and seeing how serious someone took that mode. And the fact that when reading those stages were, right, this is new to people, and this is something that we're trying to share out. And so here at Digital Futures Institute that we often talk about, we're often trying to be that support for other departments or even the larger community, is thinking through a new medium, whatever form of technology that means, the ethics of what that means in taking that up, the risks, and again, the access and who gets to play with that and who gets to explore it. I think one thing that we really play with in this gallery and how this gallery was founded is that these ideas have been thought through in many different ways in the past, but maybe on a different sphere. So for example, whether we have it through electricity now, again, these puppets, as I was talking about, or thinking through this medium in this book, that it's really covering a different mode that's outside of just text and the abstract thought. They're trying to capture concrete thinking. They're trying to capture concrete idea sharing. And so it's this challenge of how do you do that in a textual mode? And so I think in this exhibit and other exhibits, we played with how do you share those modes? How do you let people interact with them? How do you let people have say in them? Not just here's some historic things. This is what I think about them. It's important to us that people who come through here don't just hear that lecture, that they can interact with that space and have agency in here. If you first asked me this, maybe last year or another time in my life, why puppets in education, I'd be like, oh, because they're super meaningful and people don't give them the time of day. But as we've been playing with puppets and as we've got to see so many people have an experience with a puppet, it just breaks these rules. And for me, throughout research, it's been my curiosity of how do you break those rules so that there's this moment for people to think about what they're taking for granted. One thing, a big part of the exhibit, which you'll see in other parts of this video, but is really that people were able to make the puppets. And so in the theater here, we have hand and rod puppet area. We have the strings area that you can see where you can kind of disappear. And again, you have to think about what you're masking. And then we have the shadow, which we're projecting light behind that you can block that imagery. And so it's really thinking of, okay, we want a theater that can do it all. And we need to have it be small, and we need to have it be able to have an audience that can sit with it. And so I think it was just the construction of space, of making a really small space be able to play in so many different directions. When you walk through a museum and you see people looking at art, you see them having a private moment, but it's a familiar private moment. So you see someone looking at a painting and for me at least, it's like, oh, they're looking at a painting and they're looking at that. But I would say if you were to gray out everything here and you're just looking at people exploring this space, they're doing it in a way that I couldn't predict. So when you watch somebody just walk up to the shadow theater and just realize and trying to figure out what's going on behind it and how am I in front of it and behind it, and just watching this playful discovery and watching people be free to do that, I think has really surprised me about this exhibit. And so it's really those private moments that you watch somebody have, even when there's so much moving around them, you just see that private moment. And I think that's, again, that kind of interruption that puppetry has started to do.